This is Hard Parking, brought to you by Right Honda and Right Toyota out of Scottsdale, Arizona. I'm your host, Jhae Pfenning. This is Memorial Day weekend. So why do we have Memorial Day? So Memorial Day was originally known as Decoration Day. And for those of you who are listening outside the United States, the reason why we celebrate this is because it is a day to kind of not really celebrate, but mourn and have really good sales, but mourn the lives of everyone who has died in the line of duty in the military, dying for the right for us to have these freedoms. Even those who are out there protesting on Memorial Day weekend, you have that right because of those who have died to make this country as great as it is. So keep that in mind. For those of you who decide you do or do not like this country, you are here because of those reasons. Coming up on today's show, I recap my trip to Puerto Vallarta a little bit. I know how some of you love those episodes. This is not an episode dedicated to my vacation. Some of you hate those episodes. So I'll try to talk about a little bit on why we were there, who we were with, some of the things that we saw, some of the things that we liked, some of the things that were a little, I don't know, I wouldn't say we didn't like, but I think it's important if you're planning a trip to Puerto Vallarta or you're just overall curious. What were the cars like? What were the people like? And there's a lot of car news to get to. So all that and more coming up after this word from Arcus Foundry. Business tech feeling whack? Too many tools, too much chaos, not enough time? Arcus Foundry is here to fix that. With SparkForge, you get a unified platform that connects everything you need. Your website, social media, phone systems, and more. There is no need for an expensive IT department or dealing with a bunch of separate systems. It truly is the all-in-one solution that saves you time and helps your business run smoother. Head over to arcusfoundry.com and use the code HARDPARKED to get your first month free. Upgrade your tech and get back to business. So for those of you who are here specifically for the car news and the car content and couldn't care less about the other stuff unless I have a guest in studio, I think we're going to do the car news first. So cleaning up from the last episode, I'd mentioned that Montana has the highest speed limit in the United States. Maybe at some point, but that is factually incorrect. I decided, and no one pointed that out, I was like, do they? Do they have the fastest speed limit anymore? And so I looked it up online, and of the fastest speed limits in the United States, according to motor1.com. So if you have a faster posted speed limit in your state, let me know. Only 9 states have an 80 mile an hour speed limit, but 1 will let drivers go 85 mile an hour. Somewhere in Idaho, you can go 80 mile an hour, 70 for semi trucks. Montana, 80, as mentioned. Nevada has 80. North Dakota, Oklahoma, South Dakota, Utah, Wyoming, all have 80 mile an hour posted speed limit. I thought I saw that here in Arizona. In fact, what's funny is when I'm driving around, especially my wife's MDX, we get to a certain stretch and it says 85. Although I look and the post. So what I mean by that is if you're using the navigation that comes with the vehicle, and so it shows up on your display, it said 85 mile an hour. But when you're looking at one of the apps like Google, Waze, Apple Maps, or the posted speed limit will be like 50. And I'm looking at her car on the display and it says 85. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I'm not supposed to be going 85 here. So I'm not quite sure where that disconnect is, but I swear I've seen 80 at some point here in Arizona. I could have looked it up, but it's not on this motor1.com, and I don't want to spend all day talking about that. But yeah, 85 mile an hour posted here for Texas. Texas has the highest posted speed limit of any state in the United States. A 41-mile stretch of Texas Highway 130 between SH 45 near Austin and Interstate 10 in Sequin has posted speed limit of 85 miles an hour. It's also known as the Pickle Parkway. Increased speed limits were approved in September of 2012, with the parkway officially opened in 2012 as well. Wow, 2012 they've been doing that. That's nutty. The last time I was in Montana was 2012. What road has no speed limit? The only road in the world with no speed limit is Germany's Autobahn, which we all know. The Autobahn network is 8,197 miles long and has many unrestricted stretches of road. I was going to say, I'm pretty sure I heard that it's not all like that, but a lot of it is like that, which is probably why people want to go to the Autobahn. A Michigan-based startup automaker called SLATE Auto has launched a $20,000 EV that's not coming out to 2027. It's a small truck that you can configure. It says 20,000. I decided to look it up. First, I went to the website and configured mine, and I'll show you what I configured in a second. But I went with whatever Edmunds had because Edmunds is obviously a very reputable car media outlet. So let's see what Edmunds has to say about this SLATE. This article is by Kristen Shaw and edited by Nick Yakikian? Something like that. May 18th. And the title is the SLATE truck worth it? How the competition stacks up. It's supposed to start at $20,000. While the SLATE truck won't be available 2027, buyers might consider similarly priced compatible trucks or SUVs. We're intrigued by the SLATE. Is it worth the wait? So what I'm going to be talking about is I'm going to paraphrase what I see on here and tell you what I configured. We're not going to go into the competition. I don't care. Realistically, I'm not even looking to buy one of these things, but just out of curiosity because the buzz has been all over, probably because Jeff Bezos of Amazon was one of the big backers of this project. I get it. So what you get from SLATE. SLATE's new truck is 2 feet shorter than the Ford Maverick. If you don't know what a Ford Maverick looks like, look it up. Kind of a cool little truck. Has a 5-foot bed, 7 cubic foot of frunk. Oh, so in the front, a frunk. Frunks are nice. I wish I had a frunk. My NSX doesn't have a frunk. People think it has a frunk. If you don't know what a frunk is, it's like a storage space in the front instead of the back. Trunk, frunk. Do you get it? Buying the SLATE means exactly what's needed with no extras, which is true. So it's a 2-seater, has steel wheels, climate control system. You can configure it to be an SUV, which is what I did. I'll share that in a minute. A range of 150 estimated, which isn't really a lot, but if it's your work truck, your errand truck, like my Honda Z is, 150 is plenty, especially if you plug it in at night. And it has a battery pack, allegedly, that could give it up to 240. Very small towing capacity, 1,000 pounds, and a payload of 1,400 pounds, which means you could put a lot of stuff in the back from Home Depot. Go to Home Depot, load it up full of cement, if it's your work truck, and bring it home, bags of cement. So it can handle a lot, in my opinion, for what it is. But one thing that I was curious of is the fact that it is allegedly $20,000 starting at. So I went to slate.auto/en and configured mine. I'm going to tell you the summary and show you a picture of it here on the video. I built an SUV kit. You can get an SUV. You can get an SUV fastback, which is kind of the slant back SUV, which is more popular. So think of the traditional SUV as kind of the boxier one, like a Bronco. And then the fastback one has, like almost any other SUV you see on the road, a commuter SUV like an Acura MDX or the car that I just sold, an Infiniti QX or FX. Those are kind of the slanted back, the Jaguar F-Pace. So I went with the SUV kit, the spare tire carrier, SUV rack, roof rack. Some of this stuff you would think it comes with, but it doesn't. Let's see, what else did I get? The front bumper upgrade, rear bumper upgrade, fender flares. I did not get the lift kit because I wanted to configure it as if something I would use today, as with everything. I did add slightly bigger tires to it in case we took it to the lake or the Salt River. A better grill. Went with Whip Dream as the color. Whip Dream for white. I'm guessing Cool Whip? Whip Dream sounds different. Let's see. Door panel wrap and perforated black. Fog lights. Taillight upgrade. Integrated speaker for passenger and rear. More speakers. And let's see. Seat covers. Carpet floor mats. I went with carpet instead of rubber because road noise, especially with those tires, it makes a little bit of difference. Climate control knobs. So the climate control knob, the steering wheel, all those buttons. I got the gunmetal accents, the $20,000 after incentives, whatever the incentives are. So maybe it starts more like $25,000. According to this article by Edmunds, the average transaction price for a new car in August of 2024 was $47,476. A different survey from Edmunds in the same month unearthed an unrealistic dichotomy with that nearly 48,000 benchmark in mind. 50% of car shoppers prefer a new car, myself included, but I just can't afford one, which is why I always buy used, except for my NSX. But 1 in 7 car shoppers wants to spend $20,000 or less for a new car. Not a lot of new cars out there that cost less than $20,000. Just saying. So if you're part of the 14%, that Slate might be the answer for your prayers. The company says it has more than 100,000 pre-orders on its books already. Why would you not pre-order it if you think you want it? The pre-orders are only $50. $50 to pre-order or to put a deposit. So when Tesla came out, the Cybertruck, their deposits were $100. Remember that? But then they eventually moved to $1,000. The Cybertruck said it was going to be $40,000. But now the best package Cybertruck you can get is $100,000. And I think the regular one, it might be 60, somewhere between 60, 70, or 80 for a regular Cybertruck. Regular being loosely defined. So I think that the one that I configured, it's probably going to cost more, closer to 45 or 50,000, just because I did a lot to it. I left a lot off, but it comes with things, or it doesn't come with things like a center console, somewhere to put your elbow on. Why would you not want a center console? So I added a center console in there. So those are like the little things, right? Speakers added. Doesn't come with any audio. You have to add the audio. I had an option to add a tablet mount, so it doesn't come with a screen. So there's none of that stuff. So obviously no CarPlay, no Android Auto, no proprietary. And this is as of today in 2025 because it's not supposed to come out to 2027. So as of today, no proprietary system. It's just going to play off your tablet or your iPhone or whatever. But I don't know. So go to go to slate.auto/Ian and configure yours. Let me know what you think of it. Kind of a cool looking thing. Realistically, I probably wouldn't buy it because there's a lot of other things you can get, like the Ford Maverick. I think Hyundai makes a really cool vehicle that you can get if this is what you're looking for. It's probably going to be a fun, capable budget vehicle, but again, $20,000 always sounds better than $50,000, and I think mine's going to be $50,000. Again, I'm not really buying it anyway, but with a $50 reservation, why not? But I'm still not going to do it. According to The Drive and other media outlets, again, The Drive is also pretty good. Dodge confirms the electric Charger Daytona RT is dead as unsold cars pile up. I've been seeing a lot of people talk online about this, and I get it. They're like, well, no shit. Nobody wants an EV charger. I think they're kind of cool. They probably cost more than you would think for them to cost. At least they still look like a muscle car. But the lineup is not entirely dead. This is specific to the RT. They still have plans on moving forward with the larger displacement model, even in light of the tariffs. This article by Ronan Glon, poor sales and the whole tariff situation have doomed Dodge's entry-level electric muscle car ahead of the 6-cylinder's arrival later this year. So they're still moving forward as of now, which that obviously could change, but there's a lot of these things just sitting around. Article says, well, that didn't last long. Dodge has confirmed the electric Charger's base Daytona RT trim level will not return for the 2026 model year, leaving only the pricier Scat Pack version. The news comes shortly after the brand announced massive incentives on 2024 and 25 models in a bid to clear excess inventory, and a few weeks after the White House tariffs made the Canadian-built coupe more expensive. I think we had talked about previously Stellantis moving some of its operations here to the United States. This falls under the Stellantis umbrella, so maybe they should move those here. I'm not talking about build new factories, but we could probably build those here. Is it Michigan or Ohio where they built the Dodge Viper and the final one rolled off the assembly line a couple years ago? So they have that place. It says the twin turbocharged 3.0 liter straight six-pack variants will land later in the second half of this year. Dealers across the nations are sitting on an inventory of approximately 3,500 of these things. They can't give them away. In fact, some of their incentives looks like they chopped them in half, almost 50% off. In fact, there says one of them, Cameron Country Dodge, is trying to offload a leftover 2024 with 13 miles on the odometer. 38,292. I think, and I get the electronics, but when I look at this car, it's not a $70,000 car to me, especially if it's a base model. I would have guessed, having not looked into this would have already been a $40,000 car, maybe $45,000 car coming into it. No wonder they're sitting around. They're just too damn expensive for what you get. And there's a better one that's supposedly coming out. Yeah, the base price on this was $61,595, including a rather hefty $2,000 destination charge. The Scat Pack that still has yet to arrive is a $76,000 car. This is an article for Motor Trend, but it's being posted all over the place. I probably should get this firsthand from my friends over at Right Toyota. Joe and Jane are on the clock. The 2026 Toyota RAV4's 7 must-see new features and evolutions. America's best-selling SUV has some cool features we have not seen before from the RAV4. What are these features? 3 flavors of RAV4. 3 flavors. So there's 3 different trims. That's cool. Yeah, I think it's usually like one trim and something else. They have the core model, they have the sport model, and they have the rugged model. Rugged for the off-road. That's pretty cool. The off-road model built for the trail, getting chunky all-terrain tires, a roof rack, crossbars, and built-in tow hitch. The basic model and the sporty model probably speaks for itself. Sporty model has different body cladding and a rear spoiler. Number 2, a redesigned center console layout so that you can have your cups and everything in one place, because apparently that was a big issue with the original X models that they've had. They just haven't had what you needed, I guess. A dual hinge center armrest. I think that's pretty popular in most other vehicles. Digital instrument cluster for all. Every RAV4 now comes with a standard 12.3 inch digital cluster. Sounds like it was probably an option. There's nothing worse when a major car company that has the technology decides to only put certain things in certain trims. Like, they should all get the trim. That was my big complaint with our MDX. We have a nice MDX, but if we want the bird's eye view of the camera parking situation, we need to have the advanced model. Keep in mind that my 2007 Infiniti FX35 Sport had bird's eye view, and that's the biggest thing I missed from selling my 2009 Infiniti FX50S is the bird's eye view. If you have it, give it to all your models and then upgrade the speakers or do something else. But a bird's eye view camera, a larger screen or any screen, those are kind of technology and safety, right? The more shit you can see, the less stuff you run over. Number 5 wraps into number 4, new larger infotainment displays. We don't need to go into the specifications of why they're larger. Oh, look, wireless Apple CarPlay and Android Auto are now standard across the board. It should always be standard, in my opinion. And you can get this thing anywhere from 10.5 up to 12.9. I just said I wasn't going to go over to the displays, but there you have it. Not a lot of difference between a 10-inch display and a 13-inch display. Versatile cup holders comes in at number 6. Versatile. What's so versatile about these cup holders? The center console, well, we're back to center console, so there's some overlap in these top 7, so I question it. But the center console features a clever removable divider in the cup holders, allowing you to make room for those bigger bottles without a struggle. Number 7, a GR Sport. They're going to bring a GR Sport trim. That's pretty cool for an SUV. It says, for the first time ever, U.S. buyers get a bona fide performance variant package with a punchy 320 horsepower plug-in hybrid powertrain that promises to add some serious zip. Has a massive rear spoiler, 20-inch sports wheels, lowered and firmed up suspension. Toyota says the GR Sport was crafted hand in hand with Gazoo Racing. Is that what GR stands for? It must. I had no idea. I'm an Acura guy. So we'll see what happens when these things finally hit the road. And most of that, except for my really poor attempts at comedy, is from Miguel Cortina at Motor Trend. And that concludes this week's car segment. Okay, so now we're going to talk a little bit about Puerto Vallarta, our trip while we were there. So we went with our good friends Alex and Jen. So 10 years ago, we could not make it to their wedding. We had just moved here. We had 2 mortgages trying to sell our old house. That was a nightmare in itself. So given the opportunity and the invite, Yvette and I decided to go to Puerto Vallarta with Alex and Jim to celebrate their 10, as I just said. But one thing that's really unique about our friendships, Yvette and I, we both have multiple friend groups. And I'm going to kind of turn this segment into a little bit about relationships. Everything in my life, I feel, is less transactional and more relationship driven. Relationships are important to me. Less networking. Networking just kind of comes along, but I don't jump into situations exclusively just to network. I jump into them because they're relationship driven. So this isn't a business conversation, but Alex and I have been friends for a very long time. Probably since 2000, 2001, when we worked together at a bar in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And then he met Jen later on and they got married and blah, 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 blah. But one thing that's great about this trip is I consider this a friends trip. And again, Yvette and I have many friends groups, and some of them overlap with each other. And I think, and maybe it's easy for me to say this because I'm not rich. I may look rich. I'm not rich. We are upper middle class, so there's a difference. But I think that's one of the true definitions of wealth is having friends and people that you can share your experiences with, because all the money in the world doesn't do anything for you, I'm sure of it, without people to share it with. So yeah, you could be Jeff Bezos. I guarantee you he has a crew of other rich people, but they could share these experiences together. There's still a crew. Almost nobody is a soloist. But on this trip, there was actually 7 of us. The other 3 that joined, Ben, Boozer, and Kara, we went on a trip with them, Alex and Jen, and more people in Austin. I feel like it's 2 years ago now. And so that made the trip even cooler because now there's 7 of us and no one's a stranger to anyone else. You know, at first it was like, oh, hey, I remember you. I remember you. Oh, yeah, I remember you. But less than 2 hours into this trip, it's just like 7 best friends. So we did everything together. So where did we stay? We stayed in the romantic district of Puerto Vallarta. One of the advantages, I think, with going with somebody or people that have been there before is they know where to go, where not to go. One of the, I hate to call it disadvantages, because at the end of the day, Yvette and I still had the freedom to do whatever we wanted to do. But it's always more fun, in my opinion, when if you're there with a group, things are better when you do them as a group. Because, you know, Yvette and I travel all the time, and we could go back, and we probably will go back to Puerto Vallarta, probably just by ourselves. But, you know, when you travel with people that have done it before, you have input in what happens, of course, but there's less guesswork. And they know the suggestions. Jen is the planner of the group. You know, where are we going to go eat for lunch? What are we going to do all day? Where are we going to go eat dinner? And I think there's a skill set in being that person that brings people together and understanding everybody's personalities, what people like, what people don't like, what people are comfortable with spending. You know, who wants to splurge here? Who would rather do that there? And we had several days where we just sat at the beach, and that sounds great, right? It could be because it was. But one of the places we went to is a place called like El Dorado, not to be confused with El Dorado, because that's a completely different place down there in Mexico, but it was like El Dorado Beach Club or a restaurant. And so what she would do is she would call ahead of time and say, hey, tomorrow we're going to be there at, 10 o'clock in the morning. There's going to be 7 of us. And you walk down to the beach and you just lay there all day and you have full service, full shade, and the water's right there. And that was a blast. That closes around 3 o'clock every day. They start preparing for dinner, and then you get up and you do the rest of your afternoon. You walk up the hill, stop at the bar, go back to the hotels, change clothes, meet at someone's room, hang out at their balcony, have another drink, leave, go to dinner, walk around. And that's what we did. One day we had an excursion day where we all, booked a big cruise, and it made, 3 or 4 stops snorkeling. The same thing you do at all these type of, places. You do the snorkeling trip, you do the beach trip somewhere else. There's food, there's a boat ride, and it was a lot of fun. And so if you ever get that opportunity, do those things. Don't wait. I know some of you were listening or watching is like, well, our life is busy. We got the kids, we got this, we got that. Do it. It's fun. And if you have friends you could do it with, if you're invited to go on a trip, you know whether or not you can swing it. Sometimes you have to rob Peter to pay Paul. Not sound financial advice, but if you can do it, do it. There's been things that we didn't do because of finances that once that event passed, you look back and you say, damn, I guess we could have done that. We would have been fine. But I think some of the experiences that we had just as a group, just chilling on the beach or going on excursions or just walking around, like you can't replace that. And that's how relationships and friendships for life happen. A lot of people I know have these groups. They have these hey, it's a guy's trip to XXX. It's a girl's trip to XXX. It's a couple's trip to this. It's a friend's trip, which doesn't matter if you're with somebody or not, which is the case here. A little bit about the area. Beautiful waters. It was jellyfish season, or just starting to be jellyfish season. So one of the excursions we went on, there were small jellyfish about the size of a lima bean or a pea. Like, they weren't big, but they were large enough to be annoying. I think one of the bigger ones we saw was probably, I saw a couple that were probably, I'm holding up a lid to the cameras like I always do, probably 1.5 inches to 2 inches in circumference. And those are not jellyfish you want to touch. We were playing around with them without touching them. Dangerous. One thing that was a little kind of annoying on the beach, and I get it, because this is, number one, we're staying in a very popular touristy spot. Number two, some of these people who live there have nothing. And so I bullshit you not, in a given 60-second cluster of time, people will walk up and try to sell you stuff 15 times as many as, sometimes maybe only 8 within a minute. And they're cool stuff. You know, do you want to buy this hat? Do you want to buy this handmade sterling silver jewelry? Do you want to buy this wristband? Do you want to buy this? Do you want to buy that? But it's constant, nonstop. And even the people at the El Dorado restaurant / hotel, they brought out signs and they stuck them in front of you to kind of help you. It doesn't help. It just says no gracia. They look at the sign, they look at you, and they still kind of like, you want to buy this? You want to buy that? So that got very annoying, but not to the point to where you would complain or it would disgust you, because this is what it is. And we actually ended up buying some stuff. You know, my wife bought something for my son. You know, we always buy something. My friend Alex bought some stuff. He's bought some stuff before. But that in itself is definitely not a reason to not do this stuff. It's just something that you can expect if you go to Puerto Vallarta, depending on where you stay. Because again, we stayed in a very specific district. It was about 30 minutes from the airport, south. And I think all the inclusive resorts are a lot closer, like the Marriotts and things are a lot closer to the actual airport itself. And I don't know if you're shielded from that at the resorts. I would imagine the beaches are public, so maybe not. But where we were at definitely was not a private area. So one thing about the romantic zone is it is the LGBTQ plus zone of Puerto Vallarta. So there are pride flags and pride stuff everywhere. And that's okay. It's kind of funny because, you know, when we were told that, I go, oh, so it's clean? No crime? Perfect. Probably a stereotype, but it's an acceptable one for me. That just seems to be what comes with that, right? But yeah, there's flags everywhere, and none of that matters. You know, the Thursday night before we left, it kicked off, I think it was Pride Fest. So imagine that. So you're in the district already, and it's Pride Fest or Pride Week, and so we go out to the clubs, and it's just like, you see more guys. I don't know why it is. Like, girls are gay too, but you see way more males. And so we go to the clubs, and there's just all sorts of stuff that, use your imagination. Nobody in our crew was uncomfortable with who they are. No one was bothering us. We didn't bother anybody else, and we had fun. It was fun. You have to let go of those things and just have fun. And that made the trip great. Food-wise, the food was really good. Overall, not the best food we've ever had, but far from bad. The money, the American dollar, as you would expect, goes pretty far in Mexico. And so, like, one of the nights we went to this really nice nice-ish Italian pizza place. And the cost, I did the conversion. I bought this really cool pizza. It's probably 14 inches in diameter. So kind of a personal pizza. But we all shared different ones. And so it's like you had a combo pizza anyway. Came out to about 13 American dollars. And I don't know if you go to those places where you can just kind of, I forgot the name of them. They're all over the United States with the wood fire pizza ovens, and you stand in line, you pick your toppings just like you would like a Subway or a Chipotle. I don't know how much those are, but they have to be at least $12. There's no way you're getting a pizza for $7 unless it's Little Caesars, but you know, I'm talking about the wood fired stuff. And so the money added up because we drank a lot and did a lot of things, but as far as rating it on the scale of expensive, it was far from it. So that's probably why people go to Puerto Vallarta all the time. Whether you go to the romantic zone or you go to the all-inclusive resorts, One of the things about the area, it is Mexico. It is not an island in Mexico. It's the mainland-ish. So it's very poor. I don't know if there's much of a middle class. If it is, it's very small. So when you're, like I said, it's about a 30-minute ride from where we were staying to the hotel. To the airport. So all I do is look out the window, look at cars. I didn't see really one nice car. We made that trip several times because of the excursions. When I saw like a BMW M4, I'm like, oh, that's kind of a nice car. And it's got some old person who probably is American. I was going to say some old white guy, but I could get in trouble for that. But yeah, it's like an old white guy who's probably an American. It's probably his second or third home there. There's a lot of that stuff there, actually. And so I know there's probably very expensive parts of Puerto Vallarta, residential-wise, but wherever they are, it's definitely not on the way from the airport down to the romantic district. You don't feel bad, but it's just a reality check of life. I make weird observations. I notice there's a lot of motorcycles, but they're not high motorcycle, like fast, not cross rockers. They're not like 650s and 700s and 1100s. They're all like 150 to 250 cc. I call them Jackie Chan bikes. Jackie Chan bikes everywhere. I tried to look up on the internet, is there a limit? And it doesn't look like there appears to be one. So there's a lot of cobblestone and things that you're kind of, I guess it makes sense to kind of have a dirt bike or something with some really good suspension. Just a weird observation that I made. Best food we ate there. We went to a Michelin star restaurant, and I don't really go to those very often, not because I have a problem with them. I just don't seek them out. I wish I went to more, but this was in an old residence. I forgot the exact name of the residence, but you may have seen pictures of it on social media. I'm adding it as an overlay to this part. Beautiful. And that was the last night where it was just myself, Yvette, Alex, and Jen. The others had gone home already, but it was, they had a band come out, a beautiful overlooking the city. You could see the ocean in the distance. And this place was just, from the food, the service, the atmosphere, one of the best places I've ever been. Walking around at night, I would say that one of the things that, because it really, in the romantic district, it wasn't really ran down. You felt safe. Alex and Jen knew where they were going. Again, they've probably been there 12, 13 times, maybe 11 times. But depending on where you're at, little kids were coming up and trying to sell you stuff. And when I mean by a little kid, I'm talking maybe 8 years old, 7 years old. Do you want to buy this necklace? Do you want to buy this candy bars? Do you want to buy this? And it definitely made my wife really uncomfortable because this was 10:30, 11 at night when we were walking around in a group. But this is one of the things you have to understand when you travel. This is what it is where you are at. So here in America, you would not see that probably anywhere ever. But in PV, and to be fair, we've gone on vacation a lot in Mexico or the Caribbean, and we have not seen that before. But when I see stuff like that, I'm just like, my initial reaction is, hey, I know you're a kid. You're a cute kid. Absolutely not. I'm not falling for it. I ain't buying shit from you. But that's it. It's not like, oh my God, I can't believe it. They have this little kid and it's so terrible. Because maybe that's just, when we're talking Slumdog Millionaire stuff here, right? So the kids are never by themselves. There's always a parent or handler or something nearby keeping an eye on the child and the merchandise. So that's one thing, if you go to PV, you may see that might throw you off a little bit. If you want to buy something from them, buy something from them, but you don't have to. Don't feel bad. Don't hand them money. It's just part of the scene. It's just part of the experience. Just do whatever you're there to do and have fun. Would we go back again? Yes, we would. We could chill at the beach all day like we did several days. Because, again, it stops around 3:30, so you still have the rest of the afternoon. We could do that, or we can maybe go somewhere else, try the all-inclusive resort, see what else is around. But when you're going with somebody who's been there a dozen times, they know probably what they're doing. And in this case, it was obvious that they did. And so you trust the process, you trust the people. And I look forward to the next Friends trip we go on. We're going to go on one. We've gone with Alex and Jen specifically went to Lake Tahoe a few years ago, and it was for Valentine's Day. And it was just the four of us in an Airbnb in Lake Tahoe, and it was great. So if you don't have friend groups, if you have the opportunity to join a friend group, this isn't an official thing. This is, I guess, a term. I didn't make up the term, obviously, but if you have groups of friends you hang out with every once in a while, and if they travel, if they invite you, hey, Erica and Tony want us to go to XXX with them. Are we down or are we not down? If you like them enough to hang out with them on like a boat trip or do something else during the week or weekend at home, then there's no reason why you couldn't go on a vacation with them. Because we do it with a lot of different couples and vacation-wise and in groups, and it's a great time. It takes a load off your shoulders about maybe you're stressed out at work. Maybe you're stressed out at life. If you're financially strapped, don't do it. But if you can afford to do it and recover the money later, do it. Thank you so much for listening. I usually don't do holiday episodes just because no one ever watches or listens, but I had some stuff I wanted to talk about, and I think it was fun. And some of you wanted to know what happened in PV, Puerto Vallarta. Go out there, experience, have fun, travel with people. If you like what you saw today, go ahead and hit that like button, hit subscribe, assuming you're watching this on YouTube. If you're streaming the audio, please consider subscribing and leaving a positive review. Believe it or not, that does help the algorithm tremendously. And if you're in a position to help the podcast upgrade, please consider joining the Patreon, patreon.com, Hard Parking Podcast. For as little as $3 a month, you can get access to bonus audio as well as Patreon exclusive swag and free show swag. Also, special thanks to the main show sponsors, Right Honda, Right Toyota, Toyota of Huntington Beach, Claremont Toyota, and Gardenia Honda, Arcus Foundry, Autocannon, officially licensed Honda and Acura gear. Your support makes all the difference in this show. And if this is your first time checking this out, and if you truly enjoy this show, share it with the world, and I will talk to you all next week.
Now it's stripping time.
Ain't nobody got time for that.
Shut up!